Journeys Through SpaceTime by James Talisman. Chapter 12 Final Justice Served. Just after Zenon goes unconscious at the stream on PT 017735. Multiple images and symbols filled Zenon's mind as the current inner space seemed to get darker and smaller. Quickly, Zenon made an intention to slow down time and create a bubble of reality in this inner space. With time now moving extremely slow within this inner space, Zenon made another intention to illuminate the expanse in the recesses of inner mind. With the pretension in place, Zenon was relieved to observe the darkened space begin to lighten up and expand out until a massive room appeared. Huge pillars laced with sparkling diamonds rose 40 feet to an inverted concave ceiling. The walls were built with some of the most exquisite granite and marble rock that existed anywhere in the multiverse. Inlaid within the granite and marble were various inscriptions and symbols of gold and silver. Made of a special alloy that produced light frequencies of various shades and colors, the ceiling lit up the massive auditorium with breathtaking shades of illumination. Beautifully crafted seats adorned the outer portion of the amphitheater in a semicircular manner that allowed perfect views of the front stage from any seat. With the huge chamber area fully illuminated, Zenon immediately recognized the inner created space as what was called the Great Hall of Wisdom. Physically located in the Kabbalashorn, this spectacular ancient room was used for special teachings given to adepts throughout the multiverse. Elaborate ceremonies would also be performed in the space when adepts of the ancient wisdom traditions would graduate to master levels. Even though eons of linear time had unfolded, Zenon still remembered that special event when the path of attainment from highly advanced student to master was recognized for himself as well. Sensing the space around still collapsing on itself, Zenon knew that quick and precise inner work would be required to ensure the initial intention succeeded as planned. Before I proceed further, I must interface with my soul collective and ensure they all are aware of the current situation, thought Zenon before seeking the cosmic void. Once in the void, Zenon began to pull at each of the dots of light, using the intention of bringing their consciousness essence to the Great Hall of Wisdom. Seats in the auditorium began to fill with beings from multiple worlds within the vast multiverse. Gazing about the grand room, most of the participants were both in awe and bewilderment. Who are these strange beings I see around myself? Why do they look so different? What is this place and how did I get here? Thought many of the individuals seated in the elaborate and comfortable seats facing a beautiful stage made of some of the finest wood, obtained anywhere in the multiverse. Soon, the numerous members of Zenon's soul collective saw a figure walk out onto the stage in front of them, dressed in an intricate robe, made of the most beautiful material most of these soul beings had ever seen. The being in front of them was both extremely handsome and beautiful at the same time. It was impossible to discern if this being was either male or female. Perhaps this special entity was both. As each soul member gazed upon Zenon, they felt a powerful connection that seemed to extend beyond normal time and space. With continued observation of this special entity, all seated soon began to feel an immense peace within. No longer were they concerned that the beings around themselves looked so different from each other. Deep inside, each soul member knew that they were observing their brothers and sisters, and possibly even themselves in another form. After a few moments, Zenon began to speak. It is so wonderful to have my soul collective here at this time. Looking about this grand auditorium, I see myself in each and every one of you. We all share a cosmic consciousness bond that spans space and time. I have, in fact, been on adventures with many of the older souls in this room. The intimacy we share is beyond description. In essence, I am you and you are me. I sense that the older souls are beginning to understand again, but perhaps some of the newer souls are still slightly perplexed. I am that strange voice that emanates within from time to time. Sometimes I come in the form of strong intuitions. While we are never constantly connected, I am always available when my inner presence is desired. Stopping for a moment, Zenon looked around the huge room and nodded to himself before continuing. Now that everyone is feeling more at peace, I would like to explain why I have gathered you all here at this time. A powerful entity has made a bold attempt to try and capture my consciousness essence within the physical form I now embody. During earlier meditations, this plot was revealed. From those insights, I began a plan to expose this unfortunate scheme. Due to the nature of the act brought against me, my mind and body are unknowingly working to entrap my consciousness within the physical vessel it now resides. Highly advanced biological and spiritual elements have been injected into my physical system, with the intent of creating a physical and spiritual barrier that can be used to seal my consciousness to the current body I inhabit. As this powerful elixir runs through the bloodstream of the physical vessel, it is starting to shut down my ability to stay in contact with each of you. Before that happens, I wanted to spend a short time with each of you to answer questions and discuss your upcoming futures. Due to the nature of each individual veil of forgetfulness, you will only consciously remember certain portions of our conversations. Unfortunately, time is of the essence, so we should begin the individual discussions now. As each soul member came up to the stage to converse with Zenon, they were informed that while their conscious mind would only remember parts of the conversation, their subconscious minds would remember everything, and the information would be available through meditation if desired. Zenon also explained that due to the nature of how reality was currently being structured at this inner creation of the Great Hall of Wisdom, their intellectual minds and physical bodies would only experience a very brief time of unconsciousness at each of their actual worlds. As each soul member finished their interaction with Zenon, their full consciousness essence was returned to the worlds and physical entities they had come from. With all conversations complete and all soul members back in their physical bodies, Zenon began the second stage of the plan. Returning to the cosmic void, Zenon summoned the primary masters, who would best be able to assist members of the Soul Collective during upcoming difficulties that numerous factors indicated would most likely occur after the soul connection was lost. A few of these masters had already begun teaching some of these Soul Collective members at Zenon's earlier request. The seats of the auditorium began to fill with special entities. Watching these powerful beings begin to arrive, strong emotion welled up, as Zenon remembered all the adventures and memories shared with these unique individuals. With everyone now materialized in the auditorium, Zenon began to speak. Due to the nature of what is currently happening, I will use speech to convey my thoughts so mental powers can be conserved. As everyone has noticed by now, my inner powers have been tampered with by a very ancient being. I have called for each of you to assist me in fighting this force of evil intent, and to provide guidance for some of my soul collective. Before we begin our individual discussions, I just wish to convey how good it is to see you all once again and how grateful I am for your assistance with this matter. With that, Zenon began conversations with each of these ancient friends to convey desires and plans. With stage 2 of the plan complete and all the masters gone, Zenon looked around the Great Hall of Wisdom inner creation and saw that the outer edges of the huge amphitheater were now turning dark. I must act quickly to finish my initial intention before my mind goes completely dark, thought Zenon. Suddenly, a huge red flash occurred on the stage beside Zenon that metamorphosed into a massive red beast with black eyes, sharp gnashing teeth, and horns protruding from its forehead. Images of a red beast had been revealed earlier in Zenon's meditations at the garden. Seeing the beast now gave Zenon slight pause. "Who are you, beast?" spoke Zenon. "That is none of your concern right now, Ancient One. Just know that I represent your inner failures. You will need to defeat me if you ever wish to conquer your inner conflicts. I have no inner discord, beast. My soul remains peaceful even now. Therefore, I must assume that you have entered my mind from outside. I demand you leave my mind now. As I stated before, you have no choice but to battle me, Ancient One," shouted the red beast in a booming voice before charging towards Zenon. Zenon immediately created a shield as the raging red beast swung a huge two-headed iron hammer with sharp spikes coming out in all directions down towards his head. While the shield protected Zenon from serious injury, the extremely powerful strike knocked Zenon to the stage floor. "I will not be able to keep fighting this beast, or my metal powers will be exhausted," thought Zenon. Quickly, Zenon intended a more formidable opponent for this huge red beast. Instantly, he transformed into a huge warrior with 2 legs and 4 arms. As Zenon's new creation rose from the floor, huge razor-sharp swords appeared in the hands of each arm. Before the red beast could respond, Zenon quickly cut it down with the powerful swords. Lying on the stage floor, the red beast quickly disappeared. With the current danger eliminated, Zenon returned to natural form. Weakened from the battle, he observed the huge room get smaller and darker still. Realizing space and time were closing in faster than anticipated, Zenon reached out to a powerful mistress from the past. Zenon conveyed the plan to the dynamic and beautiful being. She nodded and kissed Zenon on the cheek before disappearing. Zenon centered his mind as he dove deeper into the void, to try to obtain the knowledge and wisdom necessary to defeat the dominant evil force, now working to trap Zenon's consciousness within the confines of the physical forever. Now deep within the void of all possibilities, Zenon made the strong intention, "I will find the antidote for this powerful elixir running through my physical vessel. Time must now stop." Standing in a semi-illuminated room, Zenon began to see various formulas and images appear on the 4 walls of the small room. Zenon quickly scanned the information presented on the 4 walls. If the formulas or images seemed relevant, it would stay, otherwise unnecessary data would disappear and new findings would appear. After what seemed like an infinity of linear time, Zenon stared at the remaining data displayed on the wall and nodded to himself. With a hypothesis formulated from all the information presented, Zenon intended the current space be converted into a working lab, similar to those used on Using the finest lab available within the multiverse, Zenon began to develop a cure to defeat the highly engineered substance now coursing through his physical body. With each new iteration of the desired antidote and the accompanying testing, Zenon sensed the remedy was close. Finally, after what felt like eons of time, Zenon had formulated the most likely counteragent to the substance now attacking Zenon's physical vessel. Even with time now almost at a standstill in Zenon's inner mind, the time required to produce an antidote had almost exhausted Zenon's ability to keep the eternal darkness away. Using all available strength and will left, Zenon made one more intention, before total darkness eclipsed the inner Great Hall of Wisdom creation. Back on the central race homeworld all doctors and attendants in the room were filled with grief as they watched Zenon's lifeless body lay on the highly advanced monitoring table. While all physical brain and body functions appeared normal, Zenon was in a coma that had never been encountered before. Even with comas an extreme rarity on it was still possible to interact with the patient through the unconscious mind. Both during the voyage back to from PT-017735 and back on Homeworld, Loran had searched all available databases for a cure to no avail. A full team of geneticists and doctors had been assigned to Zenon's case to create an antidote. After weeks, no solution had been found. Looking down at the comatose body of Zenon lying on the table, Loran exclaimed to the rest standing there, "The one entity most likely to solve such a perplexing problem is unfortunately the patient lying before us." Suddenly, an extremely bright light appeared in the room. After a short time, the figure of Mistress Rochelle became fully formed from the light. "A celestial!" exclaimed one of the android attendants present in the room. As everyone bowed slightly to the exceedingly beautiful entity standing before them, Rochelle looked around the room. "The great Zenon has created the most likely cure from within. The formula was then conveyed to my inner mind. From the information transmitted, I have created this." She held up her hand. In Rashael's hand was a vial of a greenish-blue substance. Loran took the vial and poured some of the liquid into a hypo syringe, before injecting the mixture into a vein in Zenon's neck. Within a short while, the monitoring table began to indicate Zenon's brain waves were changing. After a couple hours, Zenon's eyes opened. Everyone in the room was filled with joy as they observed one of their elders come back from the dead. Still very groggy and disoriented, Zenon whispered, "Where am I?" "You are on in intensive care, my doyen." "We are so overjoyed to have you back, Master," said Loran as she smiled widely. Seeing the beautiful Rashael, Zenon whispered, "My lovely queen has come through again. It was truly your efforts that made this happen, my love. I only delivered your creation." With Zenon still exhausted and slightly confused from the ordeal, Loran asked everyone to please leave the room and let Master Zenon rest. With that, everyone left the room except for Rashael. Leaning down, Rashael kissed Zenon on the lips and said, "I am so glad you are back, my love. We will celebrate soon." A very bright light appeared again as Rashael vanished from the room. Feeling stronger, Zenon was transferred to a bed and allowed to sit up. Perusing through data and video images on the bed's mobile terminal, Zenon began downloading information onto a Rizarin crystal. Most of the data downloaded onto the crystal had been unavailable due to security protocols Zenon had initiated before the mission to PT-017735. With all the data and video images recorded into the Rizarin crystal, Zenon held the small semi-translucent crystal with both hands. With eyes closed, Zenon focused on the void within. Soon, light shot out between Zenon's fingers as the solid crystal vanished from inside clasped hands. With the crystal now gone, Zenon solemnly contemplated the regrettable but necessary action just taken. Dozing, Zenon sensed a presence in the room. With eyes closed, Zenon made another powerful intention before interacting with the new guest. "How are your wounds healing, Ancient One?" Zenon asked the powerful entity standing at the foot of the bed. "I am not sure what wounds you are referring to, old friend. Perhaps your mind is still somewhat disoriented," replied Master Hadison. "I believe we both know what I am implying. In fact, I have been aware of your schemes and desires for some time now. My earlier meditation at the Venusian Gardens and very recent contact with members of my Soul Collective have confirmed everything and provided valuable insight into your recent attempt to ensure I could not expose your master plan. It seems you have been busy, old friend." Slightly off balance now, Hadison responded, "I do not think you are in a good position or strong enough to make such accusations. Perhaps we should battle again. You just caught me off guard last time." Rising from the bed, Zenon stared at Hadison with sorrowful eyes. "It saddens me greatly that we are now at this juncture. Your views on how relative reality should be structured are so out of line with the all that is." "Are they now, Ancient One? Perhaps the all that is wants this duality of thought, and I have been the instrument to make that happen," replied Hadison. "I fully understand the principle of duality, but I also know that unity is always the ultimate goal for all of creation. Eons of time have continuously proven that hierarchical structures lead to death and suffering for the majority. True power and good have forever been accomplished through cooperation and unity. Just look at our own world for proof of that. We will always differ on our views on the best reality to pursue, Zenon. Unfortunately for you, there is no proof of anything you claim. Between us though, I commend your ability to overcome the virus I infected you with. I have worked on that pathogen for over a millennia. Your powerful virus was indeed hard to counter. It took over a millennia of inner time to find the antidote. I am so saddened that it has come to this, old friend," said Zenon before lifting the reality veil. Inside the celestial royal court. Immediately, the two elders from the first race were standing inside a grand and very ancient-looking chamber. Magnificent granite walls seem to rise to infinity on all four sides. Similar to the Great Hall of Wisdom, this enormous chamber seemed to be lit by unseen lighting from within the walls themselves. Surrounding Zenon and Hadesen were 7 glowing figures sitting on majestic thrones that further displayed each entity's natural royalty. Seated upon one of the cathedra was the strikingly attractive Mistress Rachael. She gave Zenon a huge smile and wink. After bowing to the royal court, Zenon began to speak. "Thank each of you for taking the time to honor my request. I understand your duties are vast in this wonderful creation we all embody. Along with the data and video feeds from the Starship and Shuttle, I wish to also show evidence of a dangerous battle that took place inside my recently trapped mind." Zenon waved a hand at Hadesen to reveal Hadesen's upper body underneath the tunic, worn to conceal 4 large sword slices. Growling, Hadesen said, "How dare you degrade me in front of this court?" Hadesen transformed into a huge red beast with black eyes and horns protruding from its forehead. Before the red beast had time to lunge at Zenon, multiple rings of powerful glowing energy engulfed the huge creation and rendered it trapped where it stood. Satisfied the entire plan was complete, Zenon once again bowed to the royal court before looking towards the council members. "Based on all the evidence presented and this last spectacle, I would request this royal court pass judgment on the accused before us." Rising from the elaborately decorated chair, Caronis, spokesperson for the Celestial Council, began to speak. The disguised cabin video footage of Tanarn tampering with Zenon's biosuit, and the shuttlecraft video of Tanarn injecting the virus into the stream at PT-017735 are sufficient evidence alone to find Tanarn guilty of attempted murder of the mission's doyen. Zenon, your foresight to encrypt the videos was brilliant. It is evident now that your goal all along was to expose the true leader of this senseless attack on yourself and all the victims throughout the multiverse, who have paid with their lives due to one entity's unbridled attempt to seize control over entire worlds throughout the vast multiverse we all call home. Pointing to Tanarn, who was also encased in energy rings outside the semicircle of thrones, Caronis continued. "Tanarn, for your crimes against one of your own fellow primary universal, you are to be sentenced to 1 millennium of rehabilitation on the first universe planet of Terinos. Thereafter, you will remain on probation until your eventual return to the source of all." Caronis's gaze fell upon the now re-metamorphosed entity, Hadesen. "Hadesen, your crimes against a fellow elder and to the multitudes of innocent beings across the multiverse are inexcusable. While this council recognizes the argument for possible duality of views, it cannot allow the massive death and suffering that has occurred based on those views you hold. While all souls remain eternal until they are recombined with the all that is and thus can never be destroyed, in extremely rare instances, a soul needs a complete rebirth to ensure balance is retained throughout the multiverse. Therefore, a complete wipe of all previous existence will be performed on your consciousness essence before you are rebirthed on a new world. It is this council's hope and desire that you pursue a different path on your new cycle of life. Are there any words you wish to convey before the sentence is carried out?" Even though fully realizing the staggering judgment and fate just bestowed, Hadesen's now enormous ego could not be checked as the words came out. "Even with this judgment, I am still not regretful of my actions or views. In fact, I have made numerous plans to ensure my views are still followed and carried out across this vast multiverse we all reside in. It is still my beliefs that the source of everything wants the reality dualities we have all discussed throughout this trial. May the best reality win." Once Hadesen finished speaking, all the Celestial Council nodded in agreement, before both Hadesen and Tanarn disappeared from the council chambers. With the accused sentenced and removed from chambers, Caronis looked towards Zenon. "Zenon, your incredible insight, wisdom and strength continue to amaze this council and all Celestials across the multiverse. I speak for everyone when I say that you are welcome to join our ranks at any time you so desire." Nodding acknowledgement, Zenon turned towards the entire royal court. "Those words just spoken honor me greatly. I do recognize the valuable work performed by each member of this council and all celestials within this incredible creation we all call home. While it indeed would be an unspeakable honor to rise to your ranks, I still feel it is exceedingly important that I remain where I am for now. Hatterson's words have struck deep within, and I feel my guidance is still needed at the position and level one now abide in. Thank you all once again for your service and guidance on the matter brought before this court. Zenon bowed one last time before disappearing to return to